New century, new alliance. A marquisate put in the bark. To him who the stronger of the two will carry it off. Of a duke and of a king, folly of Florence. Port at Marseille, the damsel in France. The chief fort of Catherine will be razed. How much gold and silver will have to be spent? When the count will desire to take the town. Many thousands and thousands of soldiers. Drowned, killed, without doing anything there. In stronger land will he set foot. Pygmy aid by the copy holders. The town without above below. Overturned by 1,000 shots. From cannons, and fortifications underground. 5 years will it hold, everything delivered up. And left for its enemies. The water will make war upon them afterwards. Of a circle, of a lily, there will be born a very great prince. Very soon, and late come into his province. Saturn in Libra in exaltation. The house of Venus in decreasing force. The lady thereafter masculine under the bark. In order to maintain the happy Bourbon blood. He who the principality will hold through great cruelty. He will see his great phalanx at its end. By very dangerous gunshot. By agreement he could do better. Otherwise he will drink orange juice. When the treacherous enterprise of Robin will cause lords and a great prince trouble. Known by Lafin, his head will be cut off. The feather in the wind, female friend to Spain. The messenger trapped while in the country. And the scribe will throw himself into the water. The leech will attach itself to the wolf. When the grain will sink into the sea. But the great prince without envy. Through his embassy he will give him of his own grain to give him life. He will provide himself with it for time of need. Shortly before the opening of commerce. An ambassador will come from Persia to bring news to the Frank land. But unreceived, vain hope. It will be an offense to his great God, pretending to desire to abandon him. Two standards from the direction of Auvergne. The left one taken, for a time prison rule. And a lady will want to lead her child to the copy holder, but the affair is discovered. Danger of death and murmur throughout the land. German, brother and sister prisoner in the Bastille. The ambassador for a lady. To his vessel will put the oar. To beseech the great physician, that he relieve her of such pain. But to this a queen will be opposed. Great pain before seeing the end of it. During the century one will see two streams flood an entire land with their waters, and to be submerged by streams and fountains. Shots at Montfrenbeau and Cced, Oran and Alais. Very often troubled by the garden. 604 and 30 monks. 605 Very great news. The great quarrel of the two lords. It will take place near Gavaden. At a church after the offering. Murder committed, the priest begs. Trembling with fear he will flee. 606 or 9, the adventurer will be surprised by gall put in an egg. And shortly afterwards he will be out of power. Through the powerful Emperor General, to whom the world has not an equal, of which each IWLL render him obedience. At the great siege great crimes again. Starting again worse than ever. 605 in the spring. There will take place the capture and recapture. Soldiers in the fields until winter. Then afterwards it will begin again. The newly elected master of the great vessel. He will see shining for a long time the clear flame, which serves this great territory as a lamp, and at which time armed under his name, joined with the happy ones of Bourbon, east, west and west his memory. In October 605, the purveyor of the marine monster will take the unction from the sovereign. Or in 606, in June. Great joy for the common and the great ones alike. Great deeds after this great baptism. At the same time a great one will suffer. Merry, poor health, he will not see the completion of the year. And several who will be at the feast. Feast for one only, on this day. But shortly afterwards, without delaying long, two will knock their heads together. Considering the sad nightingale, who with tears and laments renews her anguish, by such means making her days shorter. 605. She will see the end of it. Of her torment, the cloth already woven. By means of its sinister aid will she have 605, 606 and 7. It will show us up to the year 17. The anger, hatred and jealousy of the incendiary. For a long enough time hidden under the olive tree. The crocodile has hidden on the land. That which was dead will then be alive. He who several times has held the cage and then the woods, he will return to the first state. His life safe shortly afterwards to depart. Still not knowing how to know, he will look for a subject in order to die. The author of the evils will begin to reign. In the year 607 without sparing. All her subjects who belong to the leech. And then afterwards she will come little by little to the Frank country to relight her fire. Returning whence Whe has come. He who will tell, revealing the affair. As with death, death will be able to do well. Blows of daggers which will have been incited by one. His end will be worse than he will have devised to make. The end leads the men on land. Watched for everywhere, as much by day as by night. When the great ship, the prow and rudder of the Frank land and its vital spirit, by the sea shaken over reef and billow. 607 and 10, heart besieged and afflicted by the ebbings of its body. Upon this evil its life being renewed. The mercurial not of too long a life. 608 and 20, great sickness. And yet worse danger from fire and water. His great friend will the be against him. With such hazards he could divert himself well enough. But in brief, the sword will cause his death. (606, 609). A chancellor large as an ox. Old as the phoenix of the world. In this world will shine no more. He will pass with the ship of oblivion to the Elysian fields to make his round. Two brothers are of the ecclesiastical order. One of them will take up the pike for France. Another blow if in the year 606. He is not afflicted with a great malady. Arms in his hand up to 610. Scarcely much further does his life extend. Celestial fire from the western side, and from the south, running up to the east. Worms half dead without finding even a root. Third age, for Mars the warlike. One will see fires shing from the carbuncles. Age a carbuncle, and in the end famine. The year 1609 or 14. The old Karen will celebrate Easter in Lent. 606, in writing he will place it. The physician, by all this is astonished. At the same time summoned in person. But for certain one of them will appear. The griffin is able to prepare himself for resisting the enemy, and to reinforce will his army. Otherwise the elephant will come. He who will suddenly surprise him. 608, the sea aflame. In a short while the physician of the great disease